going to do it this way and this is how it's going to be. It was like, I'm going to do it this way, but everybody else is doing it that way. So that must be the way to work. And then I tried those clothes on and I'm like, that does not fit. So then I had to go back. So that people, you guys out there listening can absolutely take that lesson with you, that if you already know how you want to do it, just do it that way and don't pay any attention to what other people are doing.
Are you ready to get your brand seen worldwide? Ready to learn the exact strategies that have made millionaires? Want to know the secret softwares I use to save time, energy, and keep things running and profitable with the minimal team? It's all here on my show, The Visible Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Michelle Lewis, founder of Visibility Vixen. After hitting the top of the charts in France, the UK, Australia, Canada, and Singapore, The Visible Entrepreneur is back for season 4 with some of the biggest names in the business. I'm asking them to spill detailed information about what's made them so successful, specifically their traffic and income generators. That way, you can take notes, study the strategy that will work best for you, and see success in your own lead and revenue generation. We're all about honesty here, and I'll never stop working to get you the support you need and pushing you to give back to the planet. After all, entrepreneurs are changing the world. Welcome back to The Visible Entrepreneur. Everyone, welcome back to The Visible Entrepreneur. This guest is someone that I have watched for probably 2 or 3 years now. And we connected because we were both in the Kajabi group. We both run our businesses on Kajabi. She was always really helpful, insightful, and the programs that I've taken from her have been really fantastic. And so I couldn't think of anyone better to bring on the show. So Chelsie, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much. What a great intro. I love that. And yeah, I think we connected in the Kajabi group and, I've watched you and I love all your color theory stuff. And I'm always like, every time I see blue, I'm like, I think of Michelle.
Well, I want people to get to know you a little bit better. So will you give them a little bit of a lay of the land of who you are and what your business is and who you help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I focus on low ticket. That's definitely my jam. I love to provide tons of value at a very affordable rate. I tried high ticket for a long time, didn't really work for me. I like a lot of freedom in my business. You know this, Michelle. I'm all about the automation and low ticket and also payment plans. I love me some payment plans because then I keep getting those like clockwork. So I'm all about the launch stacking, all of that. I actually got my start in MLM and was very, very successful, but I didn't like the way that a lot of the training was happening in the MLM space. And I really tried to train my team with very like high level corporate strategies, marketing and sales and stuff like that. And so I decided to exit the industry. I basically retired from the industry and started my own business because I just really wanted to help people understand really good high level marketing strategies, because on social media, it is really easy to get caught up in the gimmicks and the quick wins. Like, oh my gosh, if I, do this really gimmicky thing, I might get somebody, but in the long term, it's damaging. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to bring a lot of integrity to the social media space. So that's what kind of got me into the whole course creation situation.
What I appreciated about Chelsie is I can't remember what exactly it was. I think it was for the order bump if you were on a checkout page. She did this tutorial video for Kajabi and it was like 22 minutes long. It was so detailed. Yeah. She even gave the code so that you could have the little box around it, like the little lines and stuff. And I'm skewering through it and I'm looking through and there was no like call to action. There was no plug. There was no sale. And so having watched Chelsie, her just genuine compassion for wanting to help people grow their businesses really came
Yeah.
across strong to me. And it's
Good.
something I've always really admired about you, Chelsie. Like I said, I've invested in a couple of your things. They've always been clear and to the point. And what I appreciate the most about you is that one of my weaknesses can sometimes be that you're creating a course or a program or whatever. And you're, at least for me, I can get so into, okay, I've built it. And then here's the visibility plan, but I don't take enough advantage of the behind the scenes work and automations. And that's something I've really learned from you. And I'd love to hear, like, what was that process for you, especially using Kajabi? Like, why did you think, oh, I can have them in an email sequence when they buy something before they even start something, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because that really changed the game for me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember we did start talking about the email sequencing that I had set up. I totally forgot about that. So how that started is I'm very passionate about people finishing their courses. And as we know, course completion rates are horrendous. They're like 10%, 5%. I don't know. It's something horrifying.
Yes.
And I really want people to get results. I truly do, but they're not going to get results if they don't get to the content. Mm-hmm. I also know that I do this all the time. I have unfinished courses. I buy things and then I forget. And it's not, I never go into something. I don't think anybody goes into something thinking, oh, I'm going to buy this and not do it. Like, nobody does that. But I've got 4 teenagers and I've got my business, and I'm always building new stuff off of it, right? So I'm got a lot going on in my head all the time. And I figured my clients do too, right? Like, I know that I'm not the only person with a lot going on. So if I'm struggling, I know they're struggling. And I just thought, gosh, I wish when I bought something, somebody would actually email me and be like, hey, why don't you do that thing you bought? I'm probably going to ignore the first one. So I wish that they would like be on me in email, because I check my email every day. Or even texting me, Chelsie, remember, you said you were going to do this. Let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And I go, well, nobody's doing it for me, but heck, I'm going to do it for my people. So I took one of my brand new courses that I had just made, and I made this very specific and detailed to the course email sequence that prompted them to log in and check it out. Like, hey, and I told them the timeline. Hey, it's been a week since you purchased it, and I would love for you to dive in. And then, it's been 2 weeks. Hey, it's been 30 whole days. What are you doing? And I'm a sassy personality as it is. So like, if you're buying my stuff, you can handle a little sass. So I get a little sassy in my emails. Mm-hmm. But what I found is that it worked and people were finishing it. And because of that, I got a ton more reviews than I normally would. So I thought, I'm going to make up a sequence like this that's a little bit more generic that I can just attach on, because I have like 20 courses. So I didn't have time to sit there and write these very specific things for each one. So that's how that came about. It was a combination of my own desires of wishing somebody would kick my butt, and just wanting to also make sure that people were actually getting into the content. And it paid off. And I get so many reviews too.
Oh, I love that. Where do they post their reviews for you?
So once they go through the course, at the very end, I have a little thing. So I know you haven't been to the end of the course, or you would know this.
I love it. Yes.
So at the end, the very last module says, hey, I'm so glad that you made it through the course. I would love for you to do a review. And I just build it right in an assessment.
Smart.
So I don't have to do anything, and I just constantly collecting. So when I need content, I can just go look at the assessment answers and pull stuff from there.
Beautiful. I do something kind of similar, except for me, they fill out the assessment, which I can also use as a testimonial, but I use the feedback on that to like send a gift if they've done all the steps. So it's kind of similar. What I love about this,
sometimes I do like certificates.
Beautiful. And I think that that's fantastic. And what I want people to learn from this, because I think it's great to have podcast episodes that you can actually sit down at your laptop while you're listening and implement different changes, is that whatever platform you're using, do whatever you can with the automations. Because I was doing certain things like add a tag, then an email sequence, etc., but I wasn't being as specific as Chelsie has taught me to be. So if you have the flexibility, if you're on a platform, let's say that it's Kajabi, and you do have a program or a mastermind or a course or a membership or whatever it is, think about maybe building something before they even start the content to get them into the content, and then for the first section, etc., because it really does make a big difference. And sometimes I'll get replies from members and they'll be like, I'm so sorry, I haven't logged in yet. I know I've been meaning to, and it's all been automated on my part, but it's good that it gets them like, shoot, I really need to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up a good point, because I didn't really cover this, but just for, clarity for your listeners, is that I don't just stop at, hey, you didn't do the course, log in. I have another sequence set up to where when they actually log in, it takes them out of that sequence and puts them in a new sequence that says, hey, you made it halfway through the course. What's going on? Jump back in. And I put the login link right there in the email so they can quickly log in and go directly to that middle point. And then with one of my courses, I did it in 4 points. So, hey, you logged in, you did the welcome, but then you stopped. What happened, right? Like, so they feel very much like I'm really talking to them because it's so detailed where it is. So if I only had one or two courses, I would absolutely go through each one and do a very detailed sequence. And even though they might not even get all the emails, because if they're coming in and out of the sequences because they're doing 4 or 5 things at one time, they might not even get all the emails, but they're there. Exactly. And they'll feel very personalized because you'll be talking to them exactly at the point that they are in the program. So the more customization you can get, the better.
Exactly. Figuring out how to connect with them. And I know the other thing that we both do and love are GIFs. And I know that you teach how to make GIFs. You've done a bunch of different ones. And what I love about that is that's another touch too. I remember when no one was doing GIFs and emails, and it was me and you and like one other person, at least, whose list I was on. And I thought, like, this is such a good way to get someone to A, see your face, B, have a good time. And now you tend to be known for your GIFs. I see people in your comment threads and they drop your GIFs. I think that was such a cool thing.
Yeah, I know. I get messages almost daily. Hey, I was in a garage sale group and somebody, put your GIF on there. I say GIF. I know other people say GIF. Tomato.
Yeah, but exactly.
That's a lot of fun. And I think it's important to, when people are writing or when they're reading your writing, they are projecting their mood into what you're saying. So for me, particularly, especially because I am so darn sassy all the time, it's important for me to throw the GIF in there, or GIF, so that they can see that it's a playful tone, that I'm being silly or sarcastic or having fun with it, so that they don't accidentally project any sort of meanness or anything like that. Because I do cut to the chase a lot, and I am very much a no fluff kind of person. So the GIFs help illustrate my also, playful approach to it as well. So for me, it was really important to set the tone. They give the vibe. They can absolutely change the vibe of a whole email. And they're just fun to look at. They're
so fun. And it breaks things up. It makes it a little more visual. You don't have to do all this formatting in your emails. You can drop a GIF and leave it at that if you want to. So I think that that's great. So now let's move into talking a little bit of the meat and potatoes of your business. Can you tell me currently what your traffic generators are and what your income generators are?
So my traffic generator for sure is my group. That's the biggest one. It actually was my profile for many years. And then I just created a group and started focusing my time on there. I mean, I really think that where you focus your time, that's what's going to drive your traffic. So if you focus on emails, you're going to get traffic from emails. You know what I mean? So right now I'm focusing on my group, but I actually want to kind of shift back to my profile. So I'm kind of like in the process of deciding what that's going to look like. But yeah, traffic for sure comes from my group.
And that's the Facebook group?
My Facebook group, yes.
And what's that called?
That's called Epic Woman.
Awesome.
Epic, E period, P period, I period. Like you have to actually put it in there. It won't come up because it actually stands for, each letter has its own thing, which is extraordinary, powerful, incredible, and confident. That's it. It's been a while since I had to remember all that. So, so my group, and then my biggest money makers are always consistently, well, there's two, and I like to bounce between them. When I say low ticket, I mean some low ticket, folks. Low, like how low can you go? Like, let's get out the limbo rod and I'm going to see how low I can go. One time I just got this idea. I thought, what if I put out a course for $1? Like, what if I just did that? Like, how crazy would that be? Like, oh my goodness. That ended up generating probably, well, right off the bat, it generated like $3,000. And then by now it's double or triple that because of order bumps and upsells. So you can get them in for that low cost. I have another course that's like $3. So I love to have like these really low cost offers, and they are legit courses that I could literally charge, hundreds of dollars for. So, it's like just punching people in the face with massive value.
Yes.
And they figure, hey, if I got this for $1, imagine if I paid her 47 or I paid her 97, right? So that's a really fun moneymaker for me. I love it because it's so easy to market, so easy. $1 course, anybody will do that. And then they get on my email list. It's like, I just can't stop winning, Michelle. I just can't stop. And then the other one is for sure a higher ticket. Well, for me, it's higher ticket, probably in the range of like $150 to $200 on a 6-month payment plan. People eat those up because it's so easy to commit to, $20 a month, $30 a month. So easy. I just make it incredibly easy for people to pay me. Like, that's what I want. And I offer things at insane value. Like, I have this software right now that I offer for $17 a month. So similar software, like you can legit go check it out. $47 a month, no matter which way you slice it. Everybody's like 47. I'm like 17, haha. And so, I'm like the Payless shoes of the online course space. I'm like, I will beat you in volume. People are like, how can you even, I make it up in volume. And it allows me to serve a lot more people because it's so accessible. And I will also throw in, because so many people immediately go, oh, well, you're going to get low quality clients. No, I actually don't. I actually have some of the best clients in the world that are so appreciative that I do things at a very accessible price. So if you're out there thinking, well, I don't know if I want to go low ticket because then I might attract bad clients. Listen, y'all can attract bad clients. It's your energy. It's your vibe. If you want to attract bad clients, then you're going to attract bad clients. I'm simply unavailable to attract bad clients. So it's very rare that I get, even on the low ticket end, anybody who's causing problems. It's very rare. And I do a lot of volume. So if I was going to get crap people, I would definitely notice that trend. But for the most part, it's really good people. You just gotta expect that, you just gotta manifest that part of it.
That's fantastic. And I love that you do things a little bit differently than other people, even people we've had on the show, because there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. Exactly. So something that you do that's a little bit different is that you haven't, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you did with MLM or whatever, but it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of, let me try to make my business like so-and-so. There's been more, what do I feel like doing? That. Did you?
No,
Tell me a little bit. How did you get to this then?
So I started out with a fabulous program. I still have it. I need to really bust it out of the vault. It was a weight loss program, and I was selling it for like $500. And so I started looking at how everybody else was doing, because I wanted to scale. I wanted to reach more people. So I started looking at how everybody else was doing it. So I got into these groups, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I need to make it high ticket. So I went in there and like completely revamped the whole course, put all these extra things into it. And I was like, okay, $997 or $1597 or whatever it was. And now, because the price is a little bit higher, now I'm driving people to a webinar. Now I'm getting on a phone call with them and selling them on the thing. And, now people are a little bit easier in throwing down that kind of money just through seeing some posts. But this was a couple years ago, and people were still a little iffy about that kind of money. So at least in my world. So I was getting on the phone with them and I was closing them. It was great. I was making decent money. It was fine. But I was glued to that darn calendar and that darn schedule. I don't want no schedules. I do not want schedules. I mean, I struggle with them. well, you saw when I, like, I'm like, my hair's not done. I'm not ready. So it's, a lot of the way that I've built my business is absolutely for me, that works for me, because I want ease. I don't want to have to deal with the phone calls and the schedules and all that. Totally a personal choice, right? Mm-hmm. And I love how other people do business. And so the way that I do business now was absolutely born of trying to do it other people's way and hating it, and then kind of having to figure out what is my way, what does work for me. And so, I definitely did not come out of the gate like, well, I'm going to do it this way and this is how it's going to be. It was like, I'm going to do it this way, but everybody else is doing it that way. So that must be the way to work. And then I tried those clothes on and I'm like, that does not fit. So then I had to go back. So that people, you guys out there listening can absolutely take that lesson with you, that if you already know how you want to do it, just do it that way and don't pay any attention to what other people are doing. Don't make my mistake.
All of our mistake. I mean, I've made that mistake too. And sometimes I used to feel like I had to invest in this program or this mentorship or whatever to reach this level of success. I felt like I could not do it on my own and my own resources. I almost felt like I had to have that third party involved. And it's taken me a long time to step out of that and go, no, if this doesn't work for me, I'm not going to do it that way. And I'm going to build it the way I think is going to work.
Yeah, sometimes you don't. And most of the time I don't. But the thing that I need somebody for is, I used to think that I needed somebody to tell me how to do my business. But now I'm like, no, I already know how I want to do things. I need somebody to kind of maybe kick my butt and make sure that I'm doing it. Like, that's where I would personally need help, right? But then people hire me because they're super motivated. They have the energy to get up, but they aren't sure where to go. So I'm like, I help them figure out where to go. So yeah. It's amazing how at the end of the day, we all have a piece to the puzzle, and then we just got to find each other so we can, work together and get it all done.
Exactly. So now I want to hit on something that you've been doing. It seems like on the side, but I don't know if it's in your plan or in your ladder, and you can tell me, but you are doing some human design readings. And yes. I want to know, like, how did you get into that? How did that help you? And how are you finding led to help other people with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was in MLM, anybody who knows me from that era, I was always really big on color personalities and discovering who people are, because I learned very, very early on in sales, because even though it was MLM, it's still sales. Like at the bottom, the bottom line is that it's still sales. So I was always trying to figure out, how can I talk to people in the way that they want to be talked to? Because I did notice very early on that you have to, if you present something one way to one person and do it the same way to the next person, it doesn't always fly. And even being behind the chair as a hairdresser, I know that a large part of that was sales. I had to upsell them into a hair color. I had to sell them the product on the shelf. And I noticed that sometimes if I just grabbed the product off the shelf and said, here's what you need, they would buy it and leave. And sometimes that would really bother people, because I had a very much like, this is what you need, go buy it kind of attitude, instead of taking a second, educating them, right? So I learned these things very early on, even before MLM. But learning about people's personalities really helped me take it to the next level. So with the color personalities, just for example, like if I can quickly assess that I'm talking to a red personality, I know I need to focus on what's in it for them. Like, that's the bottom line, what's in it for them. Blue personalities, how much fun are we going to have doing it? Yellow personalities, how is it going to help other people? Green personalities, facts, just the facts, no stories, no BS, just straight up facts. So when you start learning how to talk to people like that, it just makes the whole process so much easier and more fun. And it works. Like, you're going to actually close sales that way. So when I first started hearing about human design, it's so funny, because I was like, okay, yeah, let me just go read my astrology in Vogue, ha ha ha, like whatever, sure. And at that time, I was actually really deep into Myers-Briggs, and I love Myers-Briggs for personal development. I don't so much love it for sales, and I know a lot of people want to do it for sales, but the problem is oftentimes in a sales conversation, it's really difficult to figure out what of the whole 16 personalities somebody is. So I still always teach and go back to the color personalities, because for sales and marketing, that is still the quickest way that you're going to assess somebody's needs and how they want to be talked to. So I was really deep into the 16 personalities or Myers-Briggs just for personal development purposes, because I just love to understand myself better, because when I understand myself better, then I'm more at peace and I can actually serve other people better. So it's a win-win for everybody. And the Myers-Briggs was sort of leaving some things unanswered for me, as far as why I do things the way that I do, and also how people react to me, because that's another thing that has been a constant theme in my life. I'm very polarizing. Just my presence is polarizing. So if I walk into a room, it's almost like the Red Sea. Either you love me or you hate me, and it's an instant thing that people do.
Yeah.
And I just never really understood why I was like that. So looking into human design answered that. And there's a lot of things in human design that are, that was covered by my knowledge of the Myers-Briggs situation. And so it's just one more way to help people understand themselves. And when you understand yourself, your business goes better, you can serve your clients better. I mean, it's great that we want to understand other people, but if you don't understand yourself and your own triggers and your own traumas and how you were born into this world, your aura, your energy, all that stuff, you're going to be constantly just lost. You're just going to be lost, and you're good. And that's when you also run the risk of trying to be like everybody else and trying to do what everybody else is doing, because you don't know yourself. You don't even understand your own darn genius. So human design really filled in the gaps in so many ways. And I loved it because it was simple, it was straightforward, and it was all encompassing. I feel like there's so many gaps in Myers-Briggs, even in color personalities. As far as for yourself, it's very surface level, and I really wanted to go down deeper. And when you learn about your human design, gives you your destiny, tells you where you've been, where you're going, what things to focus on. So it's really helped my clients understand what they should be monetizing, because so often we're monetizing the wrong thing. We really are. And I've learned that too. For a while I was monetizing some really wrong things for me. And now I'm kind of shifting that as well. So yeah, human design is super, super powerful for self-development. I don't recommend that you get into it to try to figure out what other people are so that you can sell to them better, because, you got to be able to assess people and read people right away. And human design is definitely something where you can take a little guess, but it's not really going to work. But for self-development, so that you can be a better business person, it's absolutely incredible.
Fantastic. I think it's so interesting that there's so many ways that you can assess and analyze and figure out things about yourself, whether it be Myers-Briggs or human design or the Enneagram or whatever. I mean, I remember learning from a real estate tycoon, and he talked about, who you're selling to. And it was those 4 types that line up very similar to the colors that you were talking about.
It's the DISC test also.
It's just really interesting, really fascinating stuff. And I think it's always a good thing to do for personal development and for sales. So I think that's wonderful. So walk me through a little bit of what your current value ladder looks like. You said you have the $1 course. I think you said there was a $7, but what's that journey that you like to take your customer on if they're coming to you for the first time?
So actually, I don't currently have a true value ladder. It's just never spoken to me. It's a little bit more on my radar now, but I've not always, that's not true. But after I learned my lesson to not do what everybody else was doing, I just started really going a lot more by my gut and what I wanted to do. And that was go in my group, give massive value, and then provide, a level up paid solution. And it's all very fragmented. A lot of people will do I think of the way that I do it more like a buffet instead of a step up. It's more like a buffet. Take what you need, leave the rest behind, because again, a lot of things that I've built come from my own frustrations in the industry. And I was very frustrated with coming into coaching, and it's I already know sales and marketing, but maybe I just want to know ads. I already know this, and this, but I just want to know this piece. And I was consistently being tried to being sold into these programs that were, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 that had everything in it. And I'm like, I'm not paying $10K to learn the one little piece. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, why isn't anybody out there just giving all the pieces and letting people take what they need? This is ridiculous. Now a lot of people are, but at that time it was not as common, and they just wanted you to get the whole thing. So that's when they had, the freebie, and then the tripwire, and then this, and they kind of built you up to this, or the webinar that led to whatever. So they had all, that was their way of doing it, which is great. It works. It still works for a lot of people, and it's a great way to do things. But it just was frustrating for me because I was like, I don't need the whole thing. I'm already established. I already had a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills. I just needed some fine tuning. So that's why I was like, you know what, I'm not going to create this big, huge package and force people to buy all the things when they only need this one little piece. And it's funny because a lot of people will think, oh, but then they're just getting that one little piece and that's all they get. And I think a lot of people out there, they're so skeptical because I'm just going to straight shoot. There's a lot of crap coaching out there, and a lot of crap courses, and a lot of crap information. So there's a lot of skeptics out there now because they have been ripped off. And so I think when you offer things in bits and pieces, people will eventually buy it all. I have so many clients that have bought everything and they don't even ask anymore. They're like, I don't care what it is. Take my money. I don't care. I'm buying it, So they buy, so they end up buying the stuff. So the customer who comes in and is like, well, I'm afraid to spend this much money with this person. I'm afraid to spend $500 on a course. Well, before you know it, they've spent $500 with me, $47, $97, $27, $1, and then they buy the $97 upsell. And eventually they spend the money with me anyways. So it's like that psychological thing. They're afraid to part with the full 500, but at the end of the day, they're doing it anyway. But yeah, so that's my value ladder. I don't have one.
I think it's great. It's almost like a value circle. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that because like we've been talking about this whole time, catering it to your needs is so important. So there may be people listening right now that are like, yeah, I want something that is more of that buffet style. So it's exciting for them to learn from someone like you that is absolutely tangible. So
for sure.
In terms of your free group, is it growing by people are recommending other people into the group? Are you doing that from your profile into your group? How are you getting those leads?
It started out with me just telling everybody about it. I already had a following. So, because I built everything on my profile. So people were very happy to go into the group. Funny enough, I actually keep my group very small. It's about 1,500 people. And I like to keep it around there. So I'm constantly like, hey, if you're not participating and commenting, whatever, you get the boot. So I'm constantly removing people. And then I get invited into other people's groups. And then and so I get people from that. I've never run any ads to it or anything like that. Never done any freebies. It's all just kind of word of mouth, either coming out of my mouth or sometimes I'll do like little giveaways, if you add friends, but I stopped doing that, to be honest with you, because it just gets the wrong crowd. They're just, they're not really, they don't know me. They're not invested in me. So usually I found the best people are from when I'm in somebody else's group and I shout out my group, because if they see me and they like my style and go to my group from there, then they're invested in me and my message and what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of this. It's just been such an awesome interview. And I would love to know, just for anyone out there, is there any parting advice that you have, any wisdom, anything that you want to share?
Be yourself. That's it. At the end of the day, just learn to be yourself and learn that you are not going to make everybody happy. You are just not going to. So just suck it up, buttercup, and be yourself. I just had a conversation with somebody this morning who messaged me and was like, I just love how you just say it. Like, you just say it and you don't give a crap. You just say what needs to be said because it's your truth. And I love that about you. And I wish I could do that. And I'm like, what do you mean wish? Do it. There's nothing stopping you. And her big fear was losing clients. And that's a huge fear. I mean, gosh, I think we could probably do a whole podcast episode just on that subject alone because it's so deep. But yeah, get over that fear, because at the end of the day, it's only going to do you a disservice. And I got to the point where I was like afraid to say things for the same reason. And then I was like, it's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it for me to keep myself in a box to make other people happy. So I'm just going to let it fly. And I'll tell you what, for every client that I did lose, which was a handful, there's a handful of people that were, oh my goodness, I can't believe she said that kind of nonsense, It's like, I don't want you in my world anyways. So I lost a few people, but I've gained so many more. So many more that just appreciate the straight, no fluff kind of vibe I've got. So yeah, that would be my parting wisdom is just be yourself. Do it now, because the bigger you get, the scarier it's going to be. So do it now, rip that Band-Aid off, be yourself, say what you want to say, because at the end of the day, you know what? It's not going to be any fun to take all your opinions to the grave with you. Let them out.
Exactly. It's going to cost you more internally not to do that. And I think that you're going to find so many more that are in allegiance with you, like Chelsie said. And if you need inspiration, here is my homework assignment for you. So if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to do an Instagram story with a be yourself post, whatever it may be, whatever opinion you have. And I want you to tag me and Chelsie in it. We would love to see it. Love to see you speaking your truth. And if you're feeling like you need a little bit of courage, you want to see a little bit of this in action, I am going to link Chelsie's profiles below so that you can go over, watch her, feel inspired by her. I will also put her buffet of items underneath so that you can look and see if anything she offers would be a good fit for you. She's someone I wanted to bring into your sphere because I think she's just a fantastic woman. And I like to highlight voices in this industry that are true, that are authentic, that are helpful. And Chelsie, I think you're one of those people. So thank you for being on my show. So I really appreciate you. It's going to be so much fun for people to hear this episode, to connect with you, to be inspired by you. And we're going to be bringing...
Or to be triggered by me and leave.
Absolutely.
And never come back,
if you get upset and emotional, it's okay.
Fine.
It's fine with me too. I'm not everyone's cup of tea either. All right. So stay tuned for another episode of The Visible Entrepreneur coming up next week. That's going to be an episode with me. And then we will have a guest the following week. Thanks for being here, Chelsie. We appreciate you and looking forward to everyone from this episode that gets to connect with you. I hope you loved this episode as much as I did. Now we're all about building a tribe here at The Visible Entrepreneur. So be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and then head on over to the Facebook group. It's a great place where you can practice your video, live stream, and really enjoy the community that we have built. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next episode. Now get out there and get more visible.
That's a wrap.